iron, and off Horford into Victor. He's ahead of the pack. He just puts it on.
Not every NBA rookie prospect lives up to the hype because it's really hard to adjust your game from college or the international scene to the NBA. But you can't say the same about Victor Wembanyama. He had a 2023-24 rookie year that was unlike any other. He was basically an anomaly who not only lived up to the hype, but made people wonder what France has been feeding their kids. And there are a lot of reasons why he's called the alien. In the age of internet and social media, it's easy for a young player to become a sensation overnight. We've seen people hyping up teenagers as the next big thing in basketball before they even start playing in the NBA or going to college. You've probably seen this with Zion Williamson when he was a man among boys in high school. And while some of those players actually live up to the hype, there was no one like Victor Wembanyama. It all started in 2020 when he was just 16 years old and was playing 2-on-2 against none other than fellow Frenchman Rudy Gobert. At that time, Gobert was already a two-time Defensive Player of the Year and one of the greatest defensive centers of his era. He was a veteran going up against a teenager. But Wemby more than held his own. He was already just as tall as the 7'1" Gobert, but was dribbling the ball on the perimeter and shooting jumpers over the outstretched arms of a Defensive Player of the Year winner. Not a lot of 16-year-old kids can say they were cooking an elite NBA defender. And since then, people couldn't stop talking about Wemby. He had everything you needed from a basketball player.
Against Panicka, spins the baseline, good challenge, oh.
Wembanyama already stood over 7 feet tall and could move fluidly like a guard. He can put up perimeter shots much like Kevin Durant. The only difference is that he's legitimately over 7 feet tall. Basically, NBA scouts kept their eyes on him, knowing he would eventually become eligible for the NBA draft in 2023. Meanwhile, Wemby was in France doing his own thing by dominating older and more experienced professional basketball players. By his final season as a pro in France, he was averaging 21.6 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks, leading the league in each category. Suddenly, the 2023 draft lottery became the Wembanyama sweepstakes, because anyone who landed the top overall pick was going to have a legitimate superstar prospect. Still, there were doubts surrounding this young French kid before he played a single minute in the NBA. At that time, he was already measured at 7'4" in France, but was much closer to 7'5". In the NBA, he was measured at 7'3" without any shoes on and had a wingspan of around 8 feet. Those physical measurements are impressive. The problem, however, was that he was barely 210 pounds coming into the NBA as a rookie. Most guards weigh just as much or are even heavier than Wemby. In other words, critics wondered if the kid's frame could handle the physicality of playing against stronger and heavier big men in the NBA.
Turns, faces, hanging, showing all.
Some centers could have probably folded him like a lawn chair if given the chance. But the San Antonio Spurs, who lucked into the first overall pick, didn't care about that at all. They knew he was the best player in that draft, and that was why they didn't even hesitate to take him with the first overall pick. Wembanyama became only the third player in Spurs history to get taken first overall. The other two players are David Robinson and Tim Duncan, both Hall of Famers, MVPs, and champions. In other words, the shoes were too big to fill for any player, but not Wembanyama. From the very start, it was clear that he belonged in the NBA and was more than ready to handle the grind of a tough and physical 82-game season. He showed his talent, shooting touch, and dribbling skills early on, even though he still had to adjust to the differences between the NBA and European basketball. His shooting touch was on and off. There were also times when he had trouble getting to the basket when defended by physical defenders. Even his teammates were getting criticized for not giving him enough touches. But the talent and potential were there, even though he was averaging 19 points on an inefficient shooting clip during the first 2 months. Things started changing in December 2023 when he found his niche on defense. Wemby averaged 18 points, 11.4 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 3.8 blocks that month alone. He had a 20-20 game and had 6 games of blocking 4 or more shots. That was only the start.
7 on the shot clock. Better get clever here. Spurs come with a double. That's what I said.
Often playing power forward alongside Zach Collins through the first 3 months of the season, Wemby moved up to center as the season progressed when his front court partner went down with an injury. It was clear he was always made to be a center when he started putting up ridiculous numbers on both ends of the floor during January 2024. In a win over the Detroit Pistons on January 10th, he had 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists for his first career triple-double. And he even scored 20 or more points in all but one of the 14 games he played that month. Wemby averaged 24 points and 3.3 blocks in January, proving he was as good as advertised. What was crazier was that he was only getting better. In a win over the Toronto Raptors on February 12th, he had 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 blocks in what was a rare instance where a player had a triple-double with points, rebounds, and blocks. No rookie should be doing that, but Wemby was slowly convincing people that aliens were real. Then, on March 29th, he had 40 points and 20 rebounds in a win over the New York Knicks. What was even crazier was that on April 2nd, he was only 2 assists and 1 block shy of a rare quadruple-double after finishing a loss to the Denver Nuggets with 23 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, and 9 blocks. If anyone could put up a quadruple-double in the modern NBA, it would be Wemby. As a rookie, he averaged 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 1.2 steals, and 3.6 blocks to win the Rookie of the Year trophy unanimously. He also became the first player in league history to put up at least 1,500 points, 250 blocks, and 100 made three-pointers in a season.
Advantage, Smith. Oh my! Blocked by Wemby. Blocked again by Wemby.
Yes, he was blocking shots and hitting three-pointers. Those two stats don't add up, but that only proved that Wemby was an anomaly. On offense, he was hitting jumpers at a rate that was impossible for a player his size. He could stretch the defense to the three-point line and snipe three-pointers over outstretched arms. But when allowed to attack the basket, he could dribble the ball into the paint and dunk over any defender. He was indeed a special offensive beast, but his defense was even more impressive during his rookie season. Rookies aren't supposed to be great defenders because they're usually too young to be disciplined on the defensive end. It's also harder to learn defensive sets compared to offensive plays. But Wemby was simply playing on easy mode as a defender. He became the first rookie since Manute Bol to lead the league in blocks per game. But blocking over 3 shots a game in the modern NBA is much harder than blocking 5 shots a game during the 80s when Bol entered the league. Players were playing closer to the basket during the 80s and 90s, allowing rim protectors to have more chances of blocking shots. On the other hand, things are different in the modern NBA, where offenses are now more spread out than ever before. The rise of the three-point shot has allowed teams to play in space to neutralize shot blockers. And with some teams forcing centers to switch out on perimeter players, players can freely attack the basket without worrying about a 7-footer blocking their shots. That is why it's incredibly rare for a player to average over 3 blocks a game in today's game. But Wemby was already a master of knowing how to use his height and length to his advantage. His timing was incredible, and he was even stopping 2-on-1 fast break opportunities because of his ridiculous ability to bother shots and defend the basket all on his own.
Blocked by Wemby. Underneath, Gobert.
And it wasn't just about his length and timing. Wemby's guard-like mobility allowed him to recover to the basket in time to block shots or prevent players from trying to attack the paint. He could cover a perimeter player on a switch, but use his long strides and mobility to recover to the paint to block a shot. What's even more impressive is that he could also do the opposite. He was actually blocking three-point shots by recovering to the open man all the way from the paint. No other player in history could do what he was doing on the defensive end at his age. And that was why he finished second in the Defensive Player of the Year award and was named to the All-Defensive First Team. He probably would have won the DPOY had the Spurs been a better team. But the award went to Gobert, the guy he was cooking in 2-on-2 pickup games just 4 years before. And no one in 2020 actually thought that a 16-year-old kid shooting jumpers over a Defensive Player of the Year winner would eventually become a much better player in just his rookie season.